Hey everybody, welcome back to Throttle Grotto, and a really quick update and a little call for some help on the 928 project. Let me show you what we're dealing with and what I need you guys' help with to figure out. Okay, this looks like I have a bell housing mounted to the engine. I really don't. It's just literally propped up here right now. But I have a very, very, very thin adapter. It's basically just like a test piece that we've got in here out of a very thin piece of sheet steel right here. And what I am dealing with is this issue right here. So this is also here, and that is the mount for the slave cylinder, which is right here, and you can see where the slave cylinder is. It will stick into where the oil pan. Sorry, I'm doing this all on the floor, guys. I don't have a lot of room to play with right now. So the center mass of the slave cylinder will go right through where this stud would be, and I'd have to cut part of the oil pan, like through here, and then cut some room on the block to make the slave cylinder fit, because as we all know, that this adapter is not going to stick out far enough. I mean, I guess maybe it could, but it's probably not going to come out far enough that I'm going to have a ton of room for the slave cylinder to fit between the block and the bottom half of the bell housing. So one of my thoughts is why not move the mount for the bell housing, or for the slave cylinder, out to the side here. Just basically have cut off, because this part of the bell housing is going to have to get cut off anyway, so it sits flush, and I don't have any other need for the bottom half of this because the starter will now be here. I don't need this bottom half of the bell housing to do anything other than hold the and like shroud the bottom half of the clutch. So my thought was move it over just enough to clear the bottom of the block here. I also am going to run into a problem, because if you remember seeing the engine in the car, the subframe sits right here. So I've got to come up with a way to get the slave cylinder to actuate the clutch arm, which sits right down in this pocket and pushes it. So either I mount the slave with a toggle actuator to push, like, a rod back this way. Yeah, so I'm trying to come up with ways to make this part of the clutch system work. So I can't do a internal. So some of you might be thinking, well, couldn't you do a internal release type thing here? But no, because the clutch has to come this way. So I'm trying to come up with some ideas, and some of you out there have dealt with way crazier things on these kind of custom projects than I have. If you have any ideas on how I can get a slave cylinder to actuate in this direction with very, very limited room over here, I am all ears. But I need you guys' help and some ideas on ways that I can do this, ideally without cutting the bottom half of the oil pan and the block. So let me know what you guys think. If you guys have seen any radical ways to solve this problem, if you guys have solved it in the past. It's not going to be a deal breaker for making this work, but I've just got to come up with a solution that I can do to actuate the clutch in the proper manner, because I need to use the 928 clutch, because I'm also using the 928 bell housing, the torque tube, and the slip joints and all that kind of stuff to make this all work. All right, until next time, get out there and work on something.